Trusting God When You're Struggling, Overcoming Obstacles to Faith by C.E. White, read by Annie Dinn. Chapter 8.
Insufficiency. God is looking for those with whom He can do the impossible. What a pity that we plan only the things that we can do by ourselves. A. W. Tozer. At a writer's retreat I attended recently, someone said, "I don't understand why God called me to do something I can't do." She couldn't imagine why God hadn't given the task to someone else. Someone with more skill, more intelligence, more time, more patience, just more. I feel that way sometimes. Each new chapter I write exposes another weakness in me. I war against self-doubt every time I sit down to type. It wants me to give up. It wants me to go do something easy that I feel confident in and leave this job to the big kids. What about you? Maybe God called you to go back to school, adopt a child, lead a Bible study, write a book of your own, or witness to a coworker. Maybe your first thought was, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough room. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I'm not spiritual enough. I'm just not enough. The beauty of this is that even if those things are true, and they often are, God is enough, and He will make anything enough as long as we are willing to trust Him with it all. Have you ever really thought about the little boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish? Jesus told the disciples to feed the crowd, an impossible task. They didn't have any food or enough money to buy it. I'm fictionalizing a bit, but I presume they went around asking people in the crowd, "Hey, do you have any food you could share?" Only one little boy volunteered his lunch, and it clearly wasn't enough. Not even a drop in the bucket compared to the number of people. In a crowd upwards of 5,000, I'd be surprised if that boy was the only one with food. Maybe some traveler provisioned for the beginning of a journey, or some mama with snacks for her little ones. I can imagine them thinking, this won't make a difference. It's not enough. So they stayed quiet. Maybe not out of selfishness, but because they didn't understand what God could do with their inconsequential offerings, their not-enoughs. But God doesn't need you to be enough, have enough, or give enough. He only needs you to offer up what you have just like that little boy did. I love his childlike faith. He didn't stop to consider that it might be silly to offer so little. He didn't second-guess or hesitate, wondering what people would think or whether what he had would make a difference. He just knew they were looking for food, and he had some. And look at the results. His not enough fed a crowd, and he became part of a miracle. So many of us freeze when God calls. We think we can't possibly make a difference with our not enoughness, so we don't offer anything. We stay quiet. Someone else has more, can offer more, can do more. It's easy to use your inadequacy as an excuse, but that's when insecurity has become disobedience, feeding the self-doubt that's paralyzing you. This is a spiral the devil absolutely loves. It keeps us inactive, ashamed, disobedient, and focused on ourselves instead of Jesus. We never see God's power because we are living in the shadow of our lack. We let it define us and determine what we are willing to do for the Lord, and we deprive ourselves the honor and beauty of being part of His miracle. When God asks something seemingly impossible and you think, I can't do that, you're really saying, He can't do that. He can't turn my 5 loaves and 2 fishes into dinner for a multitude. He can't provide financially for that child He wants me to adopt. He can't give me the words to write that book. But He can. Our lack should always point us to God and end in faith, rather than point us to ourselves and end in fear. Has He said, and will He not do it? Or has He spoken, and will He not fulfill it? God is the God of being enough. God will very likely call you to do many things you are incapable of, because it's not your capabilities that matter, and you're in good company. Could Moses have parted the sea? Could Daniel have closed the lions' mouths? Could the little boy have fed a multitude? No. Their obedience, not their wisdom or strength or wealth, was transformed into a miracle. You don't have to be wise or powerful or important in order to be chosen. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. That grand vision He gave you, the thing you want to see come about, is what He can do through your obedience. It's not that you suddenly find you really did have enough time, money, endurance, spiritual maturity, or intelligence all along. It's that God transforms what you have into something amazing. He transforms water into wine, ashes into beauty, foolishness into wisdom, weakness into strength. And He transforms you. He transforms everything that makes you incapable, unworthy, or inadequate into something He can use to great purpose. Nothing He's asked of you will be wasted in the kingdom of heaven, even if, on its own, it seems woefully inadequate. When you believe His promise and act on it, He takes that faith and allows you to be a part of what He is doing. Every tiny crumb you offer up to God is multiplied into bounty at His table. What miracle could you be a part of if you stopped telling God and yourself that what you have to offer isn't enough? Instead of letting your weaknesses control you, rather, become like Paul and boast in them, that the power of Christ may rest upon you. For His strength is made perfect in weakness. So next time you hear the voice of God asking if anyone has food to feed His people, offer whatever scraps you have in your soul's cupboard, no matter how bare. Don't let your insufficiency hold you back. For I am certain that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. God begins the work, and God completes it. It's all Him from the beginning to the end. What freedom there is in knowing that your not enoughness does not determine the fulfillment of God's plans. He takes whatever you have and multiplies it beyond all you could ask or think. God is the God of being more than enough. Takeaways. God will call you to things you feel incapable of doing. Things you are incapable of doing. Don't worry about that. He knows everything about your abilities and your circumstances. God will transform your obedience into miracles. Don't use your insufficiency as an excuse. Be a part of His work by giving what you have. When you can't, God can. Our lack should not keep us in inactivity and fear, but should lead us to faith that God is able regardless of our capabilities and resources. You don't have to be enough. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. The devil wants you to focus on your inadequacy instead of God's ability. He wants to keep you immobilized in insecurity. Don't let him win. God begins the work in you, and God completes it. Rest in His promise. Trusting God When You're Struggling, Overcoming Obstacles to Faith by C.E. White. Read by Annie Dinn. Copyright 2020 held by Connie E. White. No portion of this recording may be reproduced without prior written consent. This book contains footnotes, including many scripture references, which are not read in this audiobook. You can download a free PDF with the footnotes at www.cewhitebooks.com/trusting God footnotes. All C.S. Lewis and Oswald Chambers extracts were read by permission. Copyright information for those works is included in the footnote guide. Scripture quotations, unless otherwise indicated in the footnotes, are from the ESV Bible, copyright 2001 by Crossway, a publishing ministry of Good News Publishers, used by permission.